I had met him while we were both absolutely trashed at a gig. I think it was Control Alt Delete. Yeah, in High Spirits back in the day. And he was really trashed and I was really trashed. And I don't know why I looked at him. I was like, this guy's a nerd. And I was like, I knew it. So I went up to him and I told him, hey man, I really want to do a thing where, we can talk about stuff or make a company and things like that. And then we had a big kind of sit down and yeah, we said, let's make a podcast first.
Hi guys, welcome to Odanta Offline. It was really great to have you guys here. How are you feeling?
Thanks for having us. Yeah.
Happy to be here, man.
We're mostly interviewing each other on our podcast and in life. So it's nice to have a third party, it's not as just ask us stuff. But yeah, we're happy to be here. Thanks for having us.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
And how did you guys come to that?
Jishnu and I have an origin story that dates back to 2015,
give or take.
15, which really begins with Star Wars kind of coming back.
Force Awakens.
Yeah, with the Force Awakening, as we like to call it. But yeah, it really was at the time that, it was just an exciting moment for just pop culture because Disney was acquiring Star Wars, which meant, and they announced a new trilogy. Game of Thrones was the biggest, most pirated show of all time. It was one of the biggest things. And Avengers was, we were a few years into Avengers being one of the most amazing crossover events that were happening, in the Marvel universe. So I think it was just like a good time for us to do pop culture. We had met, I think Jishnu had just come back. Where did you came back from? Russia. No, where did you come back from?
We came back from the States.
From the States.
Just barely under a year, give or take. And yeah, like you said, the Force Awakened, and we had met through the music scene because we're both musicians. And then we realized that we were one of the few people that we could call the minute that we heard the news and be like, holy crap, did you see it? Did you hear the thing? Because there just weren't that many people.
Isn't that weird that now you'd think that more people can talk about Star Wars, and that's obviously a reflection of where it has come to after things like
it's true. You can now, but not be a
like then I could on one hand I could count the number of people I could be talking to about Star Wars.
Same. I mean, you guys are probably into the scene more, but I don't know how many people I can discuss it with.
So, I mean, that's exactly why we did this. And, one of the log lines of Geek Food, if you will, is, uniting estranged nerds. Because I truly believe that there are nerds, they're all out there. Just nobody knows who to kind of talk to. Yeah. When the trailer dropped, my first reaction was to call Jishnu and go man, did you just watch that? And we had barely spoken about literally anything else before that. So it was quite a moment. So that was one thing. Our third friend and member of Geek Food, who's not here, Dinkar, I had met at, we had run-ins all through the last few years, again through music. And he was another fellow Dubai kid like myself. So we had a few, commonalities, but I had met him while we were both absolutely trashed at a gig. I think it was Control Alt Delete. Yeah, in High Spirits back in the day. And he was really trashed and I was really trashed. And I don't know why I looked at him. I was like, this guy's a nerd. And I was like, I knew it. So I went up to him and I told him, hey man, I really want to do a thing where, we can talk about stuff or make a company and things like that. And then we had a big kind of sit down and yeah, we said, let's make a podcast first. So yeah, that's been going on for a long time. I mean, we've had 2 iterations of it, but it's been the lifeblood of everything else that we do with Geek Food, which is events and shows and performances, things like that.
The most important thing though was that podcasts were not a thing in the slightest.
That's true.
When we started, we were on the IDM network, and there were less than 10, maybe even less than 5 podcasts on that network, and now they're huge, right? Now they're in the hundreds or something.
Yeah.
And when we started, it was a big gamble for everybody involved, because let alone, us spending our time and them supporting us by giving us their resources and time, was we didn't know if the audience even existed or if the audience would even understand.
We still ask that.
So we just choose to try to beat them into submission by being consistent.
Yeah.
We've been at it for 7+ years now.
Yeah.
And
yeah, we have maybe 400 episodes of just both the shows. Plus we have a YouTube channel where we put out stuff. And again, like we haven't really, all three of us have like gigs and we have jobs and things like that keep us busy. So this has always been like a thing where we say, oh, we could do it, or we could just do it like at our own pace. We'd really invest time and money and energy into it, or we could just keep it fun and keep loving it for what it is. And I think that's a real testament of that. Like it's never worked for me. And when I miss an episode of the show, like for whatever reason, I hate that. Like I love talking to these guys about all of it. And it's good because now we have like a shorthand of like how we want to discuss things also. So it's true. Yeah, great.
Like, I mean, with jobs and everything, you guys manage to stick around for so long.
That's true.
It's become weekly therapy. Like,
Yeah, it's therapy. That's what it is.
yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I mean, this has to be asked. And I don't think I saw much of it on your podcast, at least, even though I went behind.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on Brahmastra?
Oh man, you are catching me at a moment where I'm literally about to watch it this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know I haven't watched it yet. No, Dinkar has watched it. Yeah, Dinkar has watched it. No, I really want to. And here's the problem. I wanted to watch it first day, like before I read any reviews. Then I read reviews, so my speed to run towards the theater is. But I know one of our friends is Tushar Lal, who did the music for it, and he's just an awesome guy. He does this thing called the Indian Jam Project, where he takes big scores, like Western scores, like the Star Wars, John Williams, all of this stuff, and then recreates it using Indian instrumentation. So he was contracted by Pritham to do the music. So I had met him recently, and he's like, "Yo, I did Brahmastra." I was like, "Oh shit, now I have to watch this movie because the guy is yeah. He is amazing. So I know that they've got on some of the best talent to make it, but the reviews have not been super, at least from like our contemporary, like people who we know and
What's your
value their opinion.
I mean, I loved it. I mean, I loved it. Yes, definitely. They spent 400 crores. They could have hired a better dialogue writer.
That's what I'm hearing the most of. Yeah, the dialogue is very detailed. So I've heard that this movie's been in production for like 7 years or something, 10 years. So that's probably it, right? Like 10 years ago, maybe this would have been a banger of a film.
Right, but even then, right, what you would expect to be shit.
Yeah.
The VFX and the action sequence is pretty good.
Yeah. No, what I mean is
I expect the VFX to be shit, especially when you spend that.
No, but like if you expect like in 2013.
Yeah, exactly.
Wasn't the greatest, right? But this is pretty good. Yeah. The problem is actual filmmaking that's been around for like 50 years. But yeah,
I agree, but I just think that, I think we would be a lot more forgiving if it came out 10 years. That's my point. Like there's been so much of the superhero genre that's been out there that we've seen like pretty much like every major permutation combination of storytelling. So that we see it one more time, and this is our first major gamble into the fray, then you'd be like, oh, but I don't want to comment until I see it.
But the thing is, what do you all think about the chatter around it? Like, the people about theories, that weird shit going on. Like,
yeah, I got spoiled. Yeah, I heard the one spoiler that was there, which I hate because I didn't die. I'm not saying anything, but because I hate spoilers, I'm very sensitive to it. But people have just been like willy-nilly on like Twitter. I don't think the sensitivity has reached our show. Yeah. I was just like, come on, man. But I believe that's also a big marketing point of it as well. So for whatever.
Are you invested enough like in the stakes that...
Will there be a sequel?
Yeah, basically. So it's about world building, right? Like they're now trying to do...
That's pretty good in the movie. That you can't fault them for.
Good. Okay.
It's interesting. Like it managed to get you stuff. And again, like, I mean, I don't know what you guys, but a lot of us heard those kind of stories when you were growing up.
Right. Of course.
Bits of the
I'm a Chitragat. Like, that's my shit, right?
The stuff, how it works in Indian mythology, like the weapons and everything.
Yeah.
Right.
It was cool. So you like go back to that and like, I mean, I don't know how many people remember it, but it's just a very fun thing to watch on screen when it happens. And the art and everything is pretty well done, like what they've managed to showcase and everything. I don't think I care that much about theories that much.
Yeah, is there a lot like built up into like what?
There is a little bit, but I think they do give it off. I mean, I don't think they know how well to like bring up like an anticipation, because like I remember 2015, right, when you guys started out with Jon Snow, and like I remember the shit that went down for that. That was real anticipation, like that was bad. They were real and stuff.
Yeah. Between him and I suppose Kit Harington and Andrew Garfield are keeping a secret for a year and a half, 2 years. That's good. Yeah, they've had to work hard.
But then let me ask you this: you said like it's taken like whatever, 10 years, give or take, to make this movie, right? Does the writing feel like a 2012 written film? Because I can imagine with this much money, you can always improve the VFX in post, because VFX can only get better the more time.
They didn't shoot this 10 years ago. They shot it like maybe,
I think since 2018.
yeah.
Oh,
So it's still a while.
that's still. Because with the world building, I'm just curious, like, if this is like our first real effort at the Indian iteration of a, multiversal kind of a thing, or whatever the universal kind of thing, does it feel like a 2012 story arc, or does it feel like something more recent? Because you couldn't take the same plot projections of a 2012 film. Basically, you can't take Phase 1 Marvel shit and put it in 2020.
Definitely Phase 1 Marvel shit.
I think it's simplest of something, right?
The Bahubali did a decent job of the world building. Because apart from the two films, I ended up watching the animated show on Amazon Prime, which was quite good. Like, yeah, I enjoyed it. I'd watch at least I was like at least halfway into the first season, or more than that. And
It was supposed to make a prequel or something.
yeah, I guess he's too busy with RRR and the fanaticism that is happening around.
This is the question I want to ask in a different way. I know it's been a lot on Twitter, like Marvel movies are theme park rides and that they're clown work and everything. I mean, I'm sure you guys have your own views about it. But when it comes to big budget movies, especially franchises and stuff like that, do you think that's a trap they actually fall into?
Interesting question. I mean, yeah, of course, this
Being a theme park ride, like, you mean just being not as well.
it's like that formula.
Just formula. You mean formulaic?
Yeah.
That's what Scorsese said, right? It's like a theme park.
I totally forgot what you said.
And then I think
This goes here.
Yeah, I wrote out whatever you said.
Jamie Foxx or someone that he said and he played Black Panther. He said it's like clown work. It's not really work. Which I don't know where I stand. I definitely do not agree with that. But I just want to know what you guys think of this.
I mean, I think at the outset, like, it's hard to disregard what comic books have done to culture. Like, it's our own mythology now, right? Like, this goes on for the next 200 years. We're 100 years into Batman, okay? If it goes on for another like 200 years, that's mythology, right? Like, that kind of storytelling is good. So I don't like when people are dismissive of it, but I mean, it's Scorsese. I'm not going to say anything to him. It's fine. He's a legend, so he knows. And I agree. What it's doing is, kind of taking up most of the conversational space when it comes down. People who want to make pure films or like regular films have some beef with it, kind of eating up like theaters and things like that. So yeah, it's definitely a debate. I don't think it'll be this way forever. It'll the Western went a certain way. Different genres come and go. But I think while it's happening right now, the formula stuff, I think it's just mimicking what they've done in the comics for years. They've gone through different ages, and their comic books have diversified. And that some of them are gory and violent and dark, and some of them are the Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, which is like light and funny and comedic. And I think right now where they're at is like they're diversifying, and so now all of them all of the films and the television are gonna live up to that. But they still have a formula, which is they have to, be in this Marvel space. Yeah. So I mean, I don't mind it. I think it's okay. I just think it's just going the way of the comic, and I love comics, so it's fine with it's okay with.
Yeah, I think it's a non-issue if you ask me, because it's just people saying what they feel, which is perfectly fine. You're allowed to do that, but then the numbers don't lie. They still make $1 billion because that many people are seeing it. That many people are seeing it through gritted TV, like, I don't like this, but I'll still go see the next one, and they do go see the next one.
Yeah.
So I think Marvel films are just as formulaic as a Scorsese film is formulaic. You can identify Scorsese films.
Amen.
In a lineup, you can identify Marvel films.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with
this
it.
new one about gangsters?
There's nothing wrong with it.
I'd also say that, there's so much content like out there right now. You don't have to watch it. Like there's there are alternatives to it as well. We're watching, we just spoke about the Sandman, which was out on Netflix. So insane show. So good. Arguably better than the graphic novel. I know it's actually it's not a very controversial thing. I think it's better than the graphic novel. At least the first couple of volumes. And I just think that that's such a nice alternative to, but in the same space of this genre. But yeah, very different kind of take on the entire lore and mythology of superheroes and that kind of stuff. Very different from Marvel. Very different from DC. I mean, it is DC, but it's still very different from what they're doing in the films. yeah, so the alternatives are there. If people just want to watch it, go watch it. It's fine. Yeah.
So then where do you guys stand on DC films?
Oh man,
They need help.
I have hardcore opinions. Nobody wants to hear this.
No, I don't want to hear that because it's like I remember growing up on the animated Justice League show.
Of course, Justice.
I loved DC way more than Marvel. I mean, I do love the movies that they made now.
Yeah,
But I was always into DC. DC just had the, as you say, mythology was so much better.
I agree. I think DC's amazing. I think they have amazing comic books. Some of those comic books I even so I like them even more than Marvel on some occasions. I'm just not a Zack Snyder fan. I never have. I mean, I never have been, but like, I think he set them back like 10 years at least. You know, because man, yeah, I was saying this. Was I saying this to you? But I mean, like, we're getting Secret Wars. Okay, now Secret Wars is it's not an obscure arc by any means in Marvel Comics, but it's a much later arc. You know, like you do just the Avengers coming together and things like that. We're getting Secret Wars in like 3 years. There've been 2 Justice League movies only. And they're the same. Yeah. And like, so I just think that I think he chose poorly. The choices were not great for the unified stuff. I think the individual films that they've made have been decent. Like Shazam. I love the Batman. I think that was amazing. I love Matt Reeves as well because I'm a big War of the Planet of the Apes guy.
I could believe they made that movie about one.
In Apes, I mean, it's the most underrated trilogy out there. Actually, it's so fucking good.
I know, like, talking good stuff about it on the internet, but when you watch it,
the last one is biblical. It's like it's a mythic quest. I swear.
It's very odd how it doesn't get brought up more.
Yeah, I put it up along the lines of like Logan and stuff like that. It's like one of those really heavy but brilliantly made films. So Matt Reeves obviously knows what he's doing. I hope he just continues with the Batman. My only request is this. Please, somebody have the King Stones to put Robin in a live action movie. Why is this so difficult? Everything that they've done.
You can get Martian Manhunter, but you can't.
You can do Martian. what a throwaway. Oh, by the way, he's Martian Manhunter. Yeah. Makes no sense. Just do Robin.
He tried. When that happened, I felt like they were trying to pull a Skrull swap over, because that's what was hot with Marvel at the time. They were on the heels of Captain Marvel and stuff. They're like, what if we do this? It's like, we just...
I think it was because it was the Green Lantern. Yeah. And then the studio said no.
Just lazy shit from Zack Snyder. And like, why? And then like, the extended version is just like, Wonder Woman kills people in a thing. It's just so insane. It's so insane. I
think of the DC universe of films much like Nickelback, in that it's very easy to pick on, and it's pretty obvious why they get picked on. And you're right most of the time, but there are a couple of gems in there which is like, hey, like they're not that bad. They have potential and promise because, like you said, the comics themselves, the animated stuff, the video games, all these things, aces. Like some of the video games, best video games ever. But that said, yeah, like they're just. They had I can't even say start. I was going to say rocky start. It's been like 15 years.
I just don't know how they're going to fix
They just need to take more gambles.
Like
And with the Flash.
with Ezra, Ezra Miller as well. Oh my God.
Like, even though I didn't care, even though I didn't care for the Joker film that much, I respect it. I respect the gamble. Right. I'm all in for, just do more shit like that. Just like, that's fine. Like, it wasn't my speed, but I'm happy they made it.
Yeah.
I want them to try more of that stuff.
I just to come back to DC, I think I love that first Wonder Woman film. I know people don't like the second one. I didn't mind it. I really liked Aquaman. I think visually it was really good. They just had to go so epic at the end for no reason, but whatever, it doesn't matter.
So, but I'm sure you guys both have we heard the Star Wars story that you guys unified you guys.
Yeah.
But back in the day, like, what was your Star Wars story? How did you come across Star Wars?
Start.
For me, I saw it as a child.
Where did you start from?
No, the originals. Yeah. But I was very young, and I think the defining moment for me, which has always stuck out, was my older brother kind of showing me the first. We watched the trailer for The Phantom Menace together. I remember we downloaded it or something, if I'm not mistaken, and when we saw it, I think that just my brother pointing at Ewan McGregor and saying, "Oh, you remember that old guy? He's this guy now." So even the concept of a prequel was just not, I was like, what? That doesn't make any sense. So, but yeah, it blew my mind. And after the Phantom Menace, it came out, that was it for me. Like, I was so deeply invested in lightsaber, in Jedi. I think the biggest change has come that, you know, like after Clone Wars and everything that's happened, you know, I used to love the Jedi as kids, and they were just like, you know, brilliant and perfect. And then like, but all the older people used to love Han Solo, and like, you used to never get, why is Han Solo like so? I mean, now I get it, right? Like, Han Solo is just a cool guy because the Jedi are fucking assholes. I mean, they're not assholes, but like, yeah, they are just hypocrites, and they're this righteous cult, and which is kind of slow, not being redeemed, but you're seeing how that's happening in the High Republic right now in the books that I'm reading. But it's just, it is interesting that, you know, you grow up, it's exactly the story of what the Jedi have become in like The Last Jedi and things like that, you know, where the hubris kind of brought them down. So I've always loved it from the time I was a kid. There's never been a moment in my life I've not known like or loved Star Wars. Yeah.
7 years old.
Yeah.
Random uncle's house in England. I don't even know which uncle it was. It was very innocent, and I was, you know, a family vacation. I was probably whining about being bored, and my parents sat me down in front of the TV and like they put a tape in, and it's episode 4. And I knew nothing of what I was getting into. Nobody prepped me in any way. And I was like, holy shit. Next thing I know, going through all 3 very quickly. And then a year later, give or take, was Phantom Menace. And my vivid moment when I went, you know, was episode 2. Seeing Yoda, he was like,
oh man, dude,
that was like, that was the first
flipped out
visceral like movie.
Yeah, magic. Yeah, I get it though. Yeah, fun.
Yeah. That was the first visceral moment of like movie magic, because that I didn't expect, didn't ask for it, but I really needed it.
So, I mean, continuing Star Wars, right? There was a lot of like the bad part of fandom came out with The Last Jedi, right? And not just like trashing the movie, which is fine, but like abusing actors and stuff like that. And so like, and of course, there's been good stuff, right? Like they brought back Justice League, like Zack Snyder's Justice League. So like, where do you stand on fandom, and like, where do you think how, like, even if power is used, where should it be used more?
Yeah, we've actually had this conversation multiple times about like, because like you're saying, there's good iterations and bad iterations. I don't personally think the Zack Snyder one is a good iteration. After reading about how that came about, it was also fairly toxic. There was a lot of stuff there. But I know that you know, one of my favorite film franchises right now, and one of my favorite films this year, is Sonic the Hedgehog 2. And, you know, they made an amazing change, and the Jeff Fowler, the director, was nice enough to make sure that everybody was paid on time. They pushed the date a little bit of the film, so they didn't get into crunch, and then they changed the entire look of Sonic, and now everybody loves him. And it's become an even better joke in Chip 'n Dale. What do you think? Yeah, that is so brilliant, right? So it works out across the board. But yeah, I think for The Last Jedi, you know, we love that movie. I still think it's like allowed Star Wars to be progressive enough to think 40 years on from now. Yeah, you know, and you know, it's funny because right now, like I'm loving Rings of Power so much right now, and I love Lord of the Rings anyway. But you know, all the toxicity that's happening around that, and any project that happens right now, right? Star Wars has paved the way for everything. Like everything that is going through anything right now, we're just like, oh, your first time, it's not James Franco. Yeah, like that meme. It's like, it's literally that, because Star Wars has dealt with everything. We're done with toxic fandom. We're done with like amazing positivity, like unification of fans, the merchandise, you know, the love, the filmmaking generation that was created through stop motion, Lego. It's done everything. It's done literally fucking everything. And one of the sad parts is that, yes, of course, the prequels, what happened to Ahmed Best with Jar Jar and things like that. Yeah, because so much has happened that we've seen this all happen before. That's why I know it's wrong. It's easily identifiable. Star Wars is the Bible on that stuff, man. Like, and it sucks. It's absolutely shit. But when it happens in the way of like Sonic and stuff like that, I mean, that's good. Can you imagine if we saw the Sonic film with ugly Sonic? You know, like it wouldn't have been the same. I mean, the quality of the film is good, but like there's something classic about that. Look, I'm glad they went with it. Yeah, it's a complicated matter, but ultimately these movies are made for fans. And you do listen to feedback. I mean, all the fan service that happens in Star Wars, whether it's Luke Skywalker or anything coming back, it's like people listening to like what's happening in Assassin's Creed, for example. It's a franchise I absolutely love like to death. You know, it had a big shift like a couple of years ago when it went to the RPG space. Before that, it was an action adventure game, straight up, right? And they've listened to the fans. Now, the new game that they announced, Mirage, is a old school, like Altair, like the first one, action adventure. There's no hardcore resource management. There's just like a skill tree. That's one both. And they're going to do both now. So it's one of the ways that, yeah, of course you can listen to fans. Ultimately, these are the people who are investing in your material.
You should listen to the fans, but you should think for yourself.
Yeah. And just be an asshole.
With your two examples, Kelly Marie Tran, if you're talking about episode 8, and you're looking at Justice League, the Snyder Cut, you just got to look at, you know, one of them is clearly a much easier choice to make about, like, do we listen to the fact that people don't like having an Asian person in a movie about a bunch of green people? Or do we really invest a couple more million to give this guy another chance to make what he wants to make? It's like,
yeah, fair enough.
You know, so
yeah, they did both. Right? They did both, and they raised a lot of money for charity as well in the Zack Snyder thing. So that was, it's fine. I just have beef with some of the way that the tweeting happened. You know, like there's a very long variety article I read on this, which is it's
8 hours behind the.
It's bad, man. It's not a good look at all. It's quite sad. And plus the whole Joss Whedon stuff was happening. So it's like, yeah, it's just like a different moment. But like the
bottom line, like he said,
yeah,
you're making these things to be seen by the fans.
Yeah,
obviously you got to listen to the fans. They market their audience, like obviously other stuff. But yeah, own whatever decision you make. You can't backpedal from it.
Agree.
Great. So Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones and House of Dragon, right? Very, very spoiled too, because I know like a lot of people have they have a long lost love for Lord of the Rings, so they never budge from it.
Yeah.
But a lot of young people may have gotten more into Game of Thrones. And they do have stark differences, right? One is like realism, and it shows people are like always messed up. Kings are not good. While Lord of the Rings at the end leaves you with Aragorn is a good king. But how was he good?
Yeah.
And I think no one says anything about that. So it's like simple good and evil. Where do you guys start?
So I haven't read any of the books.
Y'all you're a Game of Thrones guy?
No. So I haven't read any of the books. So I really thought, but I've watched everything, and I'm watching everything that's coming out. But I will say Game of Thrones was tiresome for me by like season 3 or 4.
Really?
Yeah. And so had Geek Fruit not happened, I know for a fact I wouldn't have finished season.
Really?
I was watching
that Game of Thrones?
I really don't like it.
It's so good.
I like from about season 4, I was on those. But I knew because of how big it was in the zeitgeist, I was like, okay, I got to keep up with it. Am I glad I kept up with it? Not really. Because like everybody saw by season 8, like,
what are you watching? Hot D,
I'll get there. I'm watching it through, I'm going to watch it through gritted teeth, but I'll watch it again because it's like, give it a shot. It's somebody else doing it. Yeah. Like if, again, to his earlier point about Star Wars, if there's anything that Star Wars has taught us, it's that a fan can make a better version always. Yeah. Because if you have Dave Filoni and Sean Favreau out there who can right the wrongs, and, you can, have a, look down your nose at somebody for trying to like adapt something that you've always loved before, which is what happens with being overly precious with the books, thinking like some people's biggest gripes with Rings of Power, for instance, is that it's not exactly Tolkien-esque and it's got a whole other new language to it and it's not true to this and that. And it's like, well, fair play, but then also respect trying to do something new, because who's to say it can't be better? Who's to say that you can't be better than do it? You're not going to be the same for damn sure, so don't try to be. And I respect that. So with House of Dragon, even though I didn't like Game of Thrones beyond a point, I'll remain cautiously optimistic because, again, I haven't read the books, so I don't have that on my shoulders of like constantly nagging and comparing things, which I know you can't shake. Nobody can really shake that. So to my benefit, since I don't have that, I'm all for it. I'm like, yeah, by all means, do more. I know it's going to happen. That's the other big thing. Like, I can't shake that other cynical side of me saying like, yeah, it's the most pirated show in the world, and yeah, that now this is the most expensive show in the world. Obviously, they're going to make more like prequels and requels and reboots and sequels and all the things in between. It's going to happen, so you might as well embrace it in that like the library's just getting bigger. You don't have to like all the books, but like at least pick a for a minute or two and just like, read the back of it. Does it vaguely interest me? Chalo, give a few chapters or read if that one. You don't have to do the whole thing.
Yeah, I agree. I have read the books. I've read a few Game of Thrones books, the first couple, but I never continued beyond that. But it is a very well written book. I mean, like it's very quick, very basic kind of book, as opposed to Lord of the Rings, which is a very hard read. But I have read those books. Not all of the older stuff, like Tales of Gondor and stuff. But I'm heavily invested in Lord of the Rings. I absolutely love it.
Are you sure about it?
Yeah, no, just generally Lord of the Rings. Yeah, I also watched it in the theater when I was a kid. Weirdly it came out. I think they both dropped the same. Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings came out the same year.
And
Attack was 2002. Yeah. None one was Prisoner. Was Sorcerer. What is it? Sorcerer's Apprentice. I was like Sorcerer's Stone, Philosopher's Stone, and Fellowship. So yeah, but I don't know. I got into, like, I remember Return of the King was such a major event for us in school. Like when we had to go watch it. And then when they dropped the extended editions, I can't even go back to it. I can't watch the theatrical cuts anymore. So yeah, I'm very heavy into it. I love Lord of the Rings. So obviously I was more excited about Lord of the Rings than House of the Dragon. And it remains the same today, which is that I love Game of Thrones when it came out. I actually am one of the few people I think I know that wasn't that harsh towards the way it was ended and things like that. I'm just like, They screwed up one thing for me. Everything else was fine. Just the Night King, that was stupid. Like, I mean, spoilers. But like the Night King was maybe one of my favorite characters in the whole thing. And, the first scene of the entire show of Game of Thrones is with White Walkers. So you know that that's the existential threat. It's like all of this is going to be just dust in the end. Like in George R.R. Martin's own words. He's like, how do you imagine it? He's like, it's all just going to be like a big war and there'll just be a big bowl of dust and that's it. And for me, the White Walkers signify that between all the kingdoms, the 7 kingdoms and that bickering, none of that matters because there'll be one threat, wipe you out and khalas, it's done. But they ended that in like the 3rd episode of the season, last season, and it happens by killing him. Like everyone's like, oh man, why is Arya? It's not about Arya's fine. I just thought that it has to be done a more mystical way. Like, there has to be a supernatural way to combat them, as opposed to you just like stab it.
What's the best ending version?
That was my annoyance.
What's the best example of that same ending? Everything turning to dust. Rogue One.
Beautiful.
That's how you do it.
Yeah.
Star Wars was always the best.
Anyway, but so but I was still like trying to tweak it, and I enjoyed Game of Thrones. I think it was just pure, it's just unadulterated entertainment, right? Like amazing entertainment. So good. So yeah, and I love that. So I'm not against watching House of the Dragon. I think it's a bit slow. I don't think it's as good. And my biggest beef is that they couldn't write a new theme song. That's lazy.
I think about to get people in.
Yeah, but dude, come on.
Yeah.
Anyway, The Rings of Power, absolutely love it.
Yeah.
And I've already cried twice watching the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. When This Wandering Way comes, the song in the last episode.
I've seen the first 2 episodes twice now.
Yes. And for me, I think the story is really compelling. I think they're great characters, great writing, great music. My gosh. I was just saying, like, there's a song that is in this last episode, which is at this time of this recording, which is sung by Poppy, who's one of the Harfords. Man, boom, straight to the heart, man. I was just like, that is beautiful. And I think they, my thing against like shows like The Boys, which is a show that, we have not spoken of a lot because I don't watch it. Because it's, I mean, maybe the kind of stuff that I love about Star Wars is that, while it's grimy and gritty and dirty, it's a very hopeful show. It's a hopeful bunch of shows, and obviously the movies are extremely hopeful. And Lord of the Rings shares that, it is a very positive thing in a world today which is quite cynical about everything. Like Westworld, I remember when we were watching Westworld, man, that Reddit thread was one of the, like, those guys, it was like the writers were on there, but they guessed every single thing. Yeah, but it was still so exciting to be on that thread. It was amazing. Yeah, I love. It's.
I watched the newest season of the 4th one.
I'm not. No, I'm still on. I'm still on like. But Yeah, exactly. Because I think Westworld, where it ended in the first season, was perfect.
It was perfect. It was a limited series.
Yeah, they should have just done that. And yeah, I think it's extended.
Like Watchmen, amazing, ended it.
Near perfection. One of the greatest ones.
Yeah, I don't think a show that has such less action has been so important.
The depth, and like sometimes I think about it, I'm just like David Lindelof. Like, how did you rope in so many?
How do you write Lost and then do?
But incredible.
But even Lost in its original seasons was amazing.
First two seasons are like timely.
Like it's the fine art of making a mystery.
Yeah.
It is.
It's so rough.
No, the thing is, the thing is, that was arguably the show that started the notion of binging for me. Like that, prior to that, I'd never done the thing where on a summer break while in college, I would borrow a friend's box set and like spend just the weekend throwing DVD. Remember those things? So that was the original binging, right? Like, do you have all 4 discs in a row? Cool. Now you can do it.
It was 24 for me.
Yeah. So
24.
But so like the thing is, I haven't seen it since what year was that? Maybe 2008 or 9 or whatever it was. But like when I did do that binge, it was amazing because you just wound up running on the steam of like one mystery after. I was like, oh my God, there's a smoke monster. Oh my God, there's a polar bear. Oh my God, there's a boat. Is it pennies? I don't know. Random things like that. But then
oh my God,
it kind of like fell through for the same reason I think like Game of Thrones fell through for me, which is after about 3 or 4 seasons of that, I was like, okay, I'm going to meet a guy. I'm going to like him. I'm going to then lose him. He's going to be killed or whatever the hell.
that's the rule.
And that's exactly what happened. And then you guess for both shows, the first stupid fan theory guess that everybody had was, oh, they're probably all dead.
Dead, yeah.
And it really doesn't matter. It's just going to end in the most like unsatisfying, unauspicious ending. It's like, and you know, Danny, who's been cool the whole time, she'll be cool, and then maybe she'll just have a subversion, and that's about it. That's exactly it. Which is really disheartening because it's like they both perfected the fine art of making you want to binge without any end game in sight. And that's
JJ. A lot of people say that's JJ's biggest problem as a director is not knowing how to end it.
Yeah, that's it. That's what he does. He can start, he just can't finish.
Star Trek or Neil both that film. I loved it.
Beyond though,
I love Beyond.
But Beyond,
it wasn't him. It was Jay Bayona.
Like
I was doing
the first.
The same writers and the same director.
Yeah. First 2 episodes.
Oh no, sorry. I'm sorry. Jay Bayona was Jurassic.
The Fallen King.
Justin Lin, I think, was the director of Star Trek.
Justin Lin.
I don't know what I'm impressed at all by Beyond.
I actually loved it, and it took me a while to get into it. I like understand it. They still had to set up like the third act kind of. It's the same problem which the Wolverine has, which is that good movie, James Mangold, but ends with that the Wolverine, but ends poorly because they have to set up Silver Samurai or do like a big ending. And the same thing for Beyond is that they had Idris Elba to do the ending. The rest of the movie, the 2/3 of it, plays out like a classic Star Trek episode.
Which the other two did not at all.
And create like existentialism, like exactly what the core of Star Trek is about. I fucking love Star Trek as well. And it gets to the heart of it and it's really, really good. Like the first two thirds of the film are incredible, I think. Yeah.
Great. So that's it for the question, but I'm definitely going to recommend it.
Oh shit, yeah, sure.
Going to be like rapid fire.
On the spot.
Definitely. Like take your time.
so not really then.
Not only rapid and
it's a fire.
It's just water.
It's out one. Graphic novels that you guys or mangas that you guys really recommend. At least one.
I'll recommend some graphic novels. Actually, we were talking about the only other iteration I've seen of like Game of Thrones where the show has gone beyond the books is for Scott Pilgrim. I remember the movie was made before the last book was out. And so because of that, the book ending and the movie ending are vastly different. And I prefer the book ending. I just do. But yeah, the Brandy O'Malley has done a bunch of really, really good books. So apart from Scott Pilgrim, he has another comic book called Seconds, which is also really nice. Yeah, that's really good. And yeah, then the classic saga and Why the Last Man, even though the show was not great, apparently I've still not seen it yet, but maybe one of my favorite graphic novels.
I'll recommend a local one. A friend of ours,
nice.
Aniruddha Chakravarti, he's made I believe 3-part series now. called Rika Ascension Protocol. We had him on a podcast a couple of years ago. He's just finishing up the third one. So that should be out soon.
You have an early copy, don't
I
you?
have an early copy.
Very kind. What a flex.
Yeah. I didn't see you brought it.
You do.
But yeah, but that's one of the best things about going to Comic-Cons for us is getting to meet the local guys. Because they're not many, but they're all lovely people.
Yeah. Favorite superhero film from this year?
From this year? Yeah.
I mean,
Or you want to go last year?
I'd say, I mean, the Batman is pretty up there for me. What are the other superheroes?
I'm a Dragon Ball.
Hey, you don't know because Black Panther Wakanda Forever is still out and it looks intense and looks beautiful. Should be one of them. I really liked Doctor Strange actually.
Yeah, same.
I really liked it. I think.
Well, I guess No Way Home was also this year, wasn't it?
No, it was last year.
Was it just okay? I'd say no.
Still, it never remembers what year in it.
Yeah, like all fucking like where does it matter?
No, yeah, I'd say I'll give it to the Batman. I think, yeah.
I'll give it a No Way Home.
You guys spoke a lot about Star Wars, Star Trek, so I mean, this makes sense. Other than this stuff, right? What are the OG sci-fi flicks or the classic that you would like? Yeah,
Science fiction movies?
yeah,
So many.
and not even like in the stuff.
Oh, that's still quite recent.
Galaxy Quest.
Galaxy Quest for him, I know. I love stuff. I like a lot of Spielbergian things.
Bicentennial Man.
Bicentennial is definitely up one of my favorite. Inspired my whole album. But Minority Report, AI. Actually, I love Kubrick as well. So 2001. So a lot of good stuff out there. Contact.
Arrival is
It was kind of a beautiful film. What's the other stuff that actually really, show that I'm really loving right now, which nobody wants to talk about it, everybody hates it, is Foundation. Oh, I love it. I'm not.
I have some problems with it.
Yeah, I know. And have you read the books?
I have read a little bit.
Yeah, it's too difficult to adapt that. It's too hard.
There's really no.
Like Lord of the Rings, like this show is supposed to be, it's supposed to span like 1,000 years, and they're doing it in like what, 5 years? So it's like they do it as 5 seasons. Foundation was the same. It's like 100, 200, 300 years.
Like things have to happen after long.
Yeah, it's predicated on that, right? But I loved it. I think it looks beautiful. And man, Lee Pace in that show.
I didn't know.
So fucking
Rodent to be this
amazing. Yeah, speaking of another science fiction show that I really enjoyed was Severance from this year. Just have to say,
It's like really good. I took my time with it though, because a little bit. I was not in that dark.
yeah,
it's that time.
I don't find it's not as dark as I thought it would.
that's the thing. Like, were you aware? Was it advertised to you how dark it? And like, no, it was. That's the thing. So like, it's like the facade.
I expected it not to be a comedy or anything. But
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but the facade, it doesn't show you just how morose it is.
it is.
But you're right. It's not as morose.
It's
as
actually
it could be. But it's because we knew going into it was going to be as such. We knew like he's trying something.
And it's Ben Stiller in the end, like it like bit of comedy.
But I'll tell you the best thing about the show is that it's the least science fiction show. Because the premise, yes, is a very sci-fi thing of like, chip and brain, but like the execution of it is like,
It's like social science.
Exactly. It's like, it's just an experiment.
World's End.
It's about as science fiction as the Truman Show, because it kind of is in many similar, like, people watching you and whatnot. But like, when you think science fiction, like the things that pop into your brain they don't include anything that's in Severance.
I take care of one. Some good science fiction movies that I haven't spoken of in a while. The Man from Earth, lovely film, really, very good.
They made, I think, a new version of it.
They made Redux or something it's called. Yeah, that and then all your classics, Predestination, etc. But yeah, I like other Destination. Yes, sick film, but yeah, good stuff out there. There's a lot of good science fiction. Dystopia.
To end it all, worst superhero film that you guys have seen.
Simple.
You got to pick though. Morbius, Fantastic Four, Elektra, or Batman vs Superman.
Oh, which Fantastic?
The 2015.
Okay, out of all of this, go again.
Morbius,
Yeah.
Fantastic Four, Elektra, and Batman vs.
Oh, easy. A Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Morbius.
Yeah.
I want to say something about Morbius.
I haven't seen Morbius.
Okay.
Because like, you just said, cool.
Here's the thing about Morbius. it's not even close to the worst movie it could have been. Weirdly enough, I've said this before, it's probably Jared Leto's least offensive performance.
It is definitely his least offensive.
Yeah, he's just like a normal guy. There's nothing in it like that. People would be so. And Matt Smith is like having it up like crazy. But it's an average like run of the mill kind of movie. Here's the worst superhero movie I've ever seen: Venom. That movie is absolute hot garbage. And I want
the second part.
Much better.
Really?
Much better. But and Morbius is much better than Venom, but not as good as Venom 2.
It's chaotic, right? At least Morbius is just tepid for me.
It is tepid. No, and perhaps that's the biggest offense you can have in this genre, right? Like you can just be bland.
Yep.
I'd say Elektra is whatever. Batman v Superman, there are merits to that film for sure.
Yeah, it has a few moments to say.
Yeah. But Fantastic Four is a movie that failed on the cutting room floor, and also here's the problem with out of all these four movies, the one that doesn't understand its characters the most is Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Because Fantastic Four,
them right, it has like two different characters in other like 2 hours.
It's stupid. But wait, we're talking about the Josh Trank one, right?
Yeah. Right. 15.
So what's up?
Yeah. So no.
With my
the Tim Story ones, I watched them again, recently. And you know what? Even though those movies are basic as whatever, it knows the characters really well.
I did not, I was a kid, right? So
Exactly. Dude, I love those movies. They're not exceptional movies, but they know the characters really well. And you know that there are family values, and it's that, 60s, adventure, cosmic kind of thing. It knows that. This take was so poor. It's just like, oh, let's make a horror, like a sci-fi horror film instead. And it's just the wrongest take on the thing. And Kevin Feige must have said that once. He's just like, at some point he must have watched that and he's just like, yeah, khareed li lete hain. Like, I'll just buy the whole studio. Because really, like, it's just, I don't know if you've seen those leaked Sony emails on The Amazing Spider-Man 2. And it's all Kevin Feige's comments after watching a draft, and they ignore all of it. He talks about like, no, this is a thing, no. Then he goes like, oh, Peter Parker would never behave this way. He's a bit too wishy-washy. He would never be. He's an honorable guy. He would never act this way. He's given like a whole bunch, which got leaked in the Sony email, the hack that happened. And it's just so clear. That's why Marvel is where it is because Kevin Feige was right at the top. Knows the essence of the characters. Like he's a Stan Lee regen, if you will, which is the guy knows his people well. I think Zack Snyder has a take on it,
but he's not.
But he's not the guy. He's just not the guy for it.
Yeah, I love his English. I love Man of Steel.
Yeah, I thought it was a great. Yeah, it's great film. Yeah.
Henry Cavill's.
Sure.
Yeah, really. So it would have been good.
And pretty solid all the way.
And we've said this again about Henry Cavill and why he doesn't work in BVS is because, like, Captain America is what Superman needs to, like, the iteration of Captain America we've had with Chris Evans is what,
like his soups is not charming.
His soups is
intimidating.
He's also
and rigid. And he's not somebody I can connect. Like, I wouldn't want to hang with that.
Yeah.
I want to hang out with Captain America and I want to be like Captain America and he's a role model and like he's cool in every which way. Everybody wants to be his friend. But that Superman, Henry Cavill Superman, as good as he is,
without his essence.
He's just there. He's not
like the justice and all of that shit. Like Captain America is saying he in the 50s fighting the Nazis, he's the same, and fighting Nick Fury in America in the Winter Soldier, he's the same. Like he's stoic. And Superman needs to be a specific way, like to know the character and like what they stand for without making them like doubt themselves. And I know you want to have progression, but that's his core. They did it perfectly with Captain America.
So, I mean, I guess that's a wrap on us talking. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man. Thanks for doing this. We had fun.